Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of The Aftermath. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Dylan. Boy, oh boy, I know on the last episode of this show, we told you guys that there was a winter storm or some sort of snowfall was forecasted for us around here in Louisiana, in Texas, I think Mississippi as well. And
a rare occurrence.
A very rare occurrence for us. We live just south enough where anybody around here, I think I talked about it. I said something like every 4 or 5 years we get like a slushy, slurry of icy rain that'll stick on the ground.
Gets real cold.
It gets real cold and real wet. Like I said, just enough, and the conditions are just enough where usually late at night it will be cold enough and it will stick on the grass and sometimes on the pavement or whatever for just the night.
Yeah.
And then sometimes
just a quick frosting.
Just a quick little slushy across everything. Nothing I wouldn't really consider it snow. It's more freezing rain.
Yeah.
I think you could call it sleet as the proper term. Right. And then usually by lunchtime the next day, it all melts away. And that is the extent of what we get around
Our little
here.
taste of winter.
Right. And like I said, it only comes around, but
once in a blue moon.
Yeah. What is it called? A fourscore or whatever. I don't know if that's the proper term. Yeah. I know that's a unit of time measurement, but I don't know what the actual term is. This, on the other hand, this experience was different.
Oh, yeah.
I have been telling people around here, I lived in Canada for 2 years, and I experienced my fair share of snow and winter storms because I would say that 75% of the year where I lived was covered in snow. And there was this, as of the release of this episode, this past Tuesday, it was forecasted to snow for a large portion of the night and some of the day, and it wasn't going to get above freezing. So that's okay, already that's pretty crazy.
Right.
And it's supposed to stay pretty cold throughout the following days. So we may not
absolutely unheard of.
We may not only get snow, but it may stick around for a day or two, or maybe even 3, depending. So Tuesday rolls around. To the morning of the wee hours of the morning, probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
I wake up.
Yeah.
Look out the window.
Yeah. It's starting to collect. And I'm like, okay, par for the course for us. Come at 9 or 10 o'clock of Tuesday morning, again, because around here we don't have any preparations for it.
Right.
Everyone is shut down. Everyone's at home. Everyone's hunkering down because none of us have proper tires for it. Right. None of us we have a lot of bridges over streams and things around here. So
that shit's frozen.
Shit's frozen over.
Yep.
And again, so a lot of businesses are shut down for the day. Schools are out, all that stuff. Just because it's kind of it doesn't happen ever.
Right.
Not only did we get, by that morning, 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, did we have 3 or 4 inches of snow. Snow, proper snow,
a thick blanket,
powder, fluffy, and I'm like,
shit, you could make a ball out.
I'm 100%. I am baffled. We wait a couple more hours. It's noon, or I have a video of 1 o'clock this past Tuesday. It is not only 4 to 5 inches thick of snow, but it is actively snowing still.
That shit's still coming.
And I'm sitting here. And I think I told Dylan, I was like, this shit has never happened.
This ain't real.
Has never happened in this.
I'm hallucinating.
Has never happened around here in my lifetime. It's always been like I just described earlier, but never like this. I was like, this is proper snow.
At one point during the day when I was just sitting in my room looking out the window, I could see the telltale just breeze.
Yeah.
In a blizzard.
Yeah.
That's straight up
flurries.
Yeah. That's just what it looked like out there.
Oh, 100%.
For the next few hours.
But again, that same thing he was just talking about, but like I said, at what normally is some of the hottest parts of the day, but it's not above freezing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just coming down. And I'm like, bruh.
Where the fuck am I?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm on the back porch, and I've used the broom to brush off the back porch a little bit, and I'm like, it's a it's a goddamn winter wonderland back here.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, dude. I'm hoping I may try and post a couple of pictures that I got on Instagram. So if anybody follows me at Ian Wolf, you can see a couple of the pictures I may try and post. But we had it all. Icicles from the eave of the roof.
Oh yeah.
On the
straight up hazards.
The bushes, lined
could have
with
died.
snow. Dude, the handrails on the steps onto the porch covered in a thick inches of snow. Had it all.
Absolutely caked.
Dude, I was like, anyways, I digress. That was this past Tuesday.
Yeah.
It is now. I'll go ahead and date it. It's Thursday.
Yeah.
And there's still some of the ice that's kind of like, it's still melting in certain areas. So it's because it's taken time and it's been cold and it's only been above freezing for a couple of hours in the morning or in the afternoon time. So like it's been crazy. It's been pandemonium. And because of all that, a lot of our because we never experience, I don't say never, but we hardly ever experience like hard freezes for extended periods of time. So a lot of times we'll have to let our sinks, like our faucets, like drip or like kind of just trickle.
Just to keep the pipes running.
To keep the pipes flowing because they're above ground, at least in certain areas, and they will freeze. And whenever pipes freeze, water expands, pipe busts. And then whenever a shit starts to melt, it's when you just have a water line that's just dumping water everywhere. Most cases, that stuff happens outside, hopefully, but sometimes it happens inside. And that's a problem because obviously any flowing water just flowing inside is never just unregulated.
Right, for obvious reasons.
So I'm saying
this isn't a buildup, by the way. Our house did not
there was a scare. There was a scare. We sat down and we watched the Digimon movie again, and that was such a fun vibe. And in the couple of hours it took us, I think our hot water pipe definitely got a little chilly.
Right.
Because I left it trickling, but I don't think I left the hot water trickling enough. And so I went to go turn it on, and I was like, oh no, there's no pressure. There's no water pressure.
Made sure that shit was on the night
before. 100%. So anyways, I was saying all this because I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds of it. But it's, like I said, it's Thursday now.
Yeah.
It's been a couple days since the snow day.
Right. It's on its way out. And
I have to prepare some things. I have to go into work, at least for a brief amount of time. Just to get some things, just to see how things are faring, and get myself prepared for the next week worth of work, because obviously we're going to be getting back to normal, hopefully pretty soon.
Right.
And come to find out, I go into the office, and one of the pipes busted in the office building. So on the other parts of the workplace are not flooded, which is okay. But there's a big building that has all the offices in it, and one of the main water lines busted, and we're assuming that it happened at some point over Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe. But again, none of us were in there because all the roads were closed,
right?
And there was a curfew. So we all show up, or I say we all, a couple of us show up on Thursday, today, as of the time of this recording, and there's like 2 inches of water in the building. We open up the building and it's like bloop, 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 it's flowing out, and we're like, oh shit. So a couple of us have walked in there and we're sloshing around, and we're like, shit, we got to start contacting.
It's kind of wet in here.
So one of the higher ups is getting in contact with the insurance company, and we're getting like the task force out here.
Right.
There's a company that we're not sponsored. I'm not going to name them. There's like a disaster relief company that comes in and like vacuums up water and like deals with fires and floods and that kind of stuff. That's what they do. Right. And so they were out there lickety split with the vacuums, sucking stuff up and getting shit out of there.
Right.
And I'm trying to like think about what electronics I have and that kind of stuff. So today it went from like me just going to do a couple of things worth of work to like, to, oh my God, dude, what is happening? It was pandemonium. It was crazy. But hopefully that's going to get sorted out. None of my stuff got catastrophically ruined.
Right, thank goodness.
Just got a little bit wet, and I think I was able to dry it off, and I don't think it'd been sitting there for far too long, maybe. I think I got lucky. Unfortunately, other parts of the business I don't think were as lucky, which is sad to say. But
fuck them.
No. I do not condone that. It sucks, and I think I'm going to have to help out in certain areas because there was definitely one computer in the office that was like the
that
was like the administrative assistant position. We picked up the computer and like it just
just
water just water just poured out of it, and I was like, well, that's toast.
Yep.
Because the power supply was mounted on the bottom, so I was like, yeah, I'm not going to power that up. Not plugging that in. So we have a big copier, like a big copy machine. One was like a commercial style one. It's like
industrial
tall,
grade.
yeah. And we walk in the room, and the outlet, like the box that powers it all, is smoking. And so we're like, and again, mind you, we're standing in like an inch worth of water, and we're all like, guys, cut the breaker, cut everything. Don't touch it.
Feel any kind of shock. I was
like, we walked in the room and we started smelling like an electrical fire.
Get out.
I was like, everyone out. Cut the breaker, whole room, get it out. Yeah. So it's like that kind of shit was what was going on, and it was just so the more we start to like try to fix things or like try to patch up where we can, the more shit we're finding. We're like, oh God, like, all that kind of stuff. Yep. Important documents that were in boxes that are
bucket out of a leaky boat type situation.
So I think it's going to get worked out. More so than anything else, I'm just worried that like the insurance is going to drag this whole thing out and try and, it is an accident. I think we're going to be able to get some things recovered and recuperated. I made the joke, and don't repeat this. I'm just saying this here on this for everyone, all you listeners, for all to hear on this list. Don't call me out. I didn't say this on the record. This is off the record.
Yeah.
I've talked about in the past how I don't like the paint on the walls and the carpet. The carpet is like a weird, like I don't know who chose the carpet. It's a weird selection, personally speaking.
It didn't quite jive with the feng shui.
I didn't really quite jive with it. And of course, the fact that like the carpet is like a weird choice because of like color, like the colors that are in the carpet. It has a couple of shades of all sorts of things in it.
Right.
It's just a weird amalgamation. And then with the selection of wall paint that is in the entire office building, it's just like, for me, I got in there, I was like, what? Who? Why?
Right.
Why this?
I don't want to be here.
not that I don't want to be here, but it's just like, what a weird selection. Why would you choose that?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that, like, I have asked, could we not repaint the office building and potentially get some new carpet?
But that's going to be a more pleasant color.
But now that and when I say the entire office building, I mean the whole thing. Has to get new carpet, and potentially has to get at least a little bit of sheetrock at the bottom has to be replaced. I think.
All right, this is again actually saying that he's the one who caused the
no.
It was all for this.
I'm not saying that I
now
caused
we can
this.
redecorate.
I'm not saying that I caused this, but all I'm saying is I'm trying to look at this as a grass is greener on the other side.
In one aspect, I'm glad it happened.
I'm sad. This is unfortunate. But I think we can have some new. No, stop! You're making me sound bad. But anyways, I'm trying to. I think it's also a situation of like, if we don't laugh about this, I think we're all going to cry at some certain points because it is kind of a bad situation. So I'm trying to keep some brevity here about this.
Right.
I did tell that joke to a couple of coworkers where I'm like, hey, all I'm saying is, I've been saying this for a while. I don't like this paint and carpet selection, and if this is what kicks us into a new selection.
Right.
All I'm saying is, hey, I'm a little happy for it.
Right, anyways, we got you.
Yeah, there was a funny situation where I was in another section of the campus whenever that was all happening, and people found my car there, and so they thought that I saw the flooding and just like ran because they couldn't find me. So I was like, no, I'm here. But anyways, so all that to say,
honestly, I don't ever want to see that much water again.
Gosh,
I would run.
It's traumatizing. So with that setup, I know that was a bit long winded, but there's
anyway,
there's
guess
a lot.
What we watched.
Wait, hold on. I'm not there yet. There is this was for me what feels like a once in a lifetime opportunity to see where we live down at this low in the United States.
Yeah.
And I do think it's kind of crazy how the West Coast is on fire and we are literally for the first time experiencing real snow. It's crazy. The world feels like it's turned upside down. So with all that stuff, changing up our routine, and of course with all this stuff happening with my office, and everything happening with all that, I'm sitting down with Dylan tonight, and I was telling him how crazy this all was. and I'm just like, I finally kind of come to a conclusion of what I just told all of you listeners. And I sit there and we just both have this moment where we're like, ugh. And Dylan goes, do we have an episode lined up for tomorrow? And I was like, you son of a bitch. No, we don't. No, we don't. These past few days have been a bit topsy-turvy, and I have
couldn't
forgotten.
really focus on anything else but the fun snow outside.
Ethan went on a vacation, and so I'm in the process of having to go pick him
out
up.
in San Fran.
Yeah, I have to go pick him up.
On his way back.
And so that's what we were talking about. I was talking about all this stuff with work and how I got to be up super early to go get him from the airport.
Verbatim, like it was so nice just not having to worry about doing anything for these past couple days.
Yes.
And then I started thinking, I'm like, oh no. Wait a minute though.
But I think actually we have to go do something
We do have something to
do. It's all good though. No harm. I really am glad that we actually had this kind of chance to watch something and add a little bit of brevity to my, very catastrophic day is what it feels like.
The disaster.
Everything's in shambles right now. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, we watched another Ghibli film. Mm-hmm. And apparently from what you just told me, the first Ghibli film.
Yeah, this was their first.
Which I didn't. I think you may have told me that in the past,
right?
Which I forgot about, which that's actually crazy to think about.
Yeah.
This was their first one?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. What a fucking start.
What a big start.
Oh yeah.
Because I just got finished before we started recording, told you there is like a few criteria of Ghibli films that I'm not sure if there's actually like a PG-13 or actually PG rating. There may be.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure if they go by the same standard. I don't look at the ratings anymore because I don't really.
I just watch stuff.
I don't have any children of my own, and so I'm just like, it is what it is. Yeah. But there are a few Ghibli films, and anybody who has seen Studio Ghibli films, they know. I think they know what I'm talking about. There are some that are way more kid friendly than others,
right?
And so like there are some that I'm like, oh, this is definitely one of those like PG Ghibli films, which is just, it's nice. Sometimes it gets a little bit crazy, but a lot of times it's whimsical.
Right.
And it's pretty fun, it's magical, and it's usually about a kid on some sort of journey or something like that.
Most of them, at least across the board for me, aren't like you can tell they're steering towards children as the demographic for most of these films.
Right.
But they don't. It's not like
pandering.
No. Patronizing.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It still treats anybody watching it with enough respect to be like, "Ooh, you're not
right.
You're not just some dumb fucking kid."
Yeah, and I think that's what I mean. Is like I'm not saying that it actually has like that specific rating to it, but it's like in its own way, it has some where it kind of. It conveys this story. It doesn't hold your hand, and it's a great Ghibli film. But some of them just feel a little bit more like, oh, this is not quite as scary. Yeah. Whereas
everybody still has their arms.
Yeah. Whereas
their heads.
Whereas there's on this other end of the spectrum, like I would say Nausicaä, and with that Princess Mononoke, which are I would say. A little bit more in that scary spectrum where it's like I wouldn't really call it rated R, quote unquote. Like, but there are some there is imagery in it that's like, oh, that's a bit.
There's some dismemberment here and there.
Yeah.
There's some straight up death.
Yeah. There's guns,
murder.
And people getting stabbed, and it's like, oh shit, we're doing this for real. So that's what I mean. Again, am I saying it's not kid friendly? No, but what I say is probably.
I'd show this to my preteen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A little bit older kid.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying with it. And this is what I mean by this movie. Is it even for the first one, the fact that it kind of touches on this like more heavier into the spectrum is like, okay, hey, that's
right.
That's
good.
Cool. It's cool. It's good. It's good and it's fun. Let me pull up my notes.
Oh yeah. Let me know what you
I did pull up. I because everything has I don't like to write too many notes for this podcast. I really like to make it feel a little bit more free form. But tonight, and because
motherfucker was jotting down shit left and right.
Well, because because the week has been what it has been, I was worried that like
I just need some assistance.
I just need some assistance.
I just
know
need
that my mind is probably not 100%
right
here right now. I'm just it's all over the place, but I was still down to have a good time.
Yeah.
And have fun with it. But I was like, but let me just whip out the notes real fast just to help myself out.
Yeah.
Right out the bat, dude, this movie, like with any Ghibli film, just has this whimsical nature, like I said before, and very beautiful music. There's this
Joe Hisashi always knocks it out of the park.
There is these background paintings, like the background stills of like all these like creature and all these things, just all these like the landscapes and everything that's going on. It's like
basically telling the story of how the world got to this point.
Right. And it's so cool and it's so pretty looking. And it also has this, that it's fantasy in some way, shape, or form, but like it feels otherworldly. They're calling
I'd say post-apocalyptic future.
Right. And that's what I mean is like because we're dealing with this like spore stuff, this decay, this sea of decay. And the fact that like we got our what feels like at this moment like our main guy, which later comes out to be, and I have a cool. I didn't want to spoil this for you because I wrote something down for this. We got this main guy on these two like chocobo looking things, which are like these like bird, long leg bird creatures that he's riding on, and he's going across this sea of decay, and there's like it is like eating away at people or like in other just things, and he's like, oh man, it's taking another city or whatever.
Humans cannot survive in this environment.
Right. And he's wearing this weird like breathing apparatus that looks like it's got shields for his mustache in it or whatever, which is kind of I think it's like air
jowls.
Yeah, air jowls. But that's what I mean by like otherworldly fantasy. It feels like a JRPG,
right?
But like with a lot of like real tangible things. But because we're dealing with all this like spore stuff, there's like everything has like this like kind of weird organic structure to it of like how things are built and how it's like consuming these buildings and things. So it feels alien in a way, which I think is really cool. And then we're dealing with like these bugs that are kind of also playing into it, and they're also huge. So it does
gigantic.
It feels post-apocalyptic, but it's also like it just kind of feels a little alien, and that's what I meant when I wrote this. I was like otherworldly fantasy. It feels like a fantasy genre. It feels kind of grounded in some level of reality. But there's all these elements of like, okay, we're in this other world. It almost feels like it's alien in some cool way. And I think it's really interesting because there's also this like cool glider that our main character's on. So it feels very
powered.
It just is all these like cool elements that are like, because very briefly after that sequence, she's in this like cave, and all this cave is covered in these like spores and fungus looking things, and everything's all organic, how it's all like tied together. Anyways, like you can just tell it's consuming this stuff.
The nice part about that scene you're talking about is, as it turns out, like while she's just chilling out, exploring in the Sea of Decay, the cave she is in turns out to be one of the ancient giant warriors.
Really?
Because as soon as she hears like the gunshots and the Ohm going nuts, she like goes to the highest point, and it's the fucking skull of one of these things.
Shit! I don't think I
pops
realized
out the
that.
eye hole. Yeah.
Damn. Oh, I think I do remember that. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
It's super cool.
That is super cool. It truly is. In these first few sequences, it's like unlike anything I've seen before. Again, like I said, there's so many elements that feel like I can comprehend what it all is, but just in this context, it's just like this is so uniquely its own thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, with this, like with these cloaks, his hat, and the breathing apparatus, and these like creatures, and like all of it. Like I said, it just feels like this is such a unique take on all these different things, and it feels so different than anything else.
Tell you what, it really reminds me of.
Yeah.
Panzer Dragoon.
Yep. I knew you were going to say that.
Specifically the original.
Yeah.
Because, god damn.
Panzer Dragoon's also kind of a wacky.
Like, super
cool.
similar.
Yeah.
Like
Very different.
Mm-hmm. A bunch of ancient tech just lying around, going fucking wild.
Yep.
But man, it's mainly like the music and just the look of everything.
The music is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'll get back to the music.
Oh yeah.
But you get to this girl I was talking about, which turns out to be our actual protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
She feels like this like crazy explorer. And because of like, she has like this whole vest that has like, she has a gun and these like shotgun shell pouches on her chest. And so she feels like she's like specifically like a scout in a way. And there's some of the things that she has that also that other guy had that I was talking about at the beginning. Right. So it feels like, okay, at the beginning, you're like, are these people like specifically like, designated to be like scouts in this kind of like crazy post-apocalyptic world and are going to go back to some like that's what it feels like to me upon watching it again of like, you know, we're seeing two different people but in the same kind of like apparatus and same stuff. We're like, okay, so these are the people that go out and try and figure out is what it feels like. Right. And then, like, of course, then they end up meeting up, and you find out that there is, like, a kind of a companionship in some way.
They know each other.
Student-master type situation, which I think is really interesting.
We got to talk about Lord Yupa.
Yeah, dude.
This motherfucker.
I was going to talk about him a little more whenever he gets into the town.
Man.
But you continue. Go ahead.
He is the realest motherfucker you'll ever know.
The baddest badass, dude.
He's described as the greatest swordsman in this land.
Yeah.
And boy, does he fucking show it.
Yeah. He ends up finding this, like, I think he calls him, what is a squirrel fox? Fox squirrel?
Yeah, fox squirrel.
They're like these like interesting looking creatures, and they're also in Castle in the Sky.
Yep.
Which that made me think. I was like, is there some sort of cool like correlation?
There's got to be some kind of connection.
Some sort of connection there, because was Castle in the Sky like? I'm assuming it has to be after this. Like how far? Oh, no, I mean like as like that it was produced. If this was if Nausicaä was the first one, Castle in the Sky had to come later.
Right.
So like, but is there some correlation where like they're in the same universe? I think that's interesting and would kind of be a cool thing I would like to look into more. Yeah. If anybody knows that or has any information on that, let us know. That's I think it's cool. But anyways, they end up butting up together and end up going to the Valley of the Wind. And if I'm not mistaken, let me just look this up really fast because I just typed this out on a whim.
Yeah.
Well, if I would spell it correctly. If I'm not mistaken, I wish I would have done better at this.
What does it mean, Ian?
Yeah. Okay, so I was right. Okay, I don't know. I'm a big Tolkien guy. I love J.R.R. Tolkien and his writings. I haven't read everything, but I do know probably more than just the average Joe about the whole Middle Earth ethos. Right. So I don't know if you know about the hidden city in I think it was in the First Age of like Middle Earth, all that kind of stuff. There was this hidden city called Nargothrond, and it was it is off in the far west that all gets consumed by the sea eventually. I'm not going to go into all that stuff later, but among the cities of the elves, there was this hidden city called Nargothrond, and people knew of it by like legend alone, but nobody knew how to get to it because it was like veiled in this like valley, and it was a whole bunch of stuff. Right. And even if you were to like somehow, it kind of is a little bit like Imladris, like Rivendell, how it's like hidden and veiled through elven magic in some way. So like even if you were to get close to it, you get like lost in the woods or whatever. Yeah. Is that kind of stuff where like no one can really, and if you ever do find the entrance, you have to like be allowed in through. Anyways, it's a whole bunch of stuff. So immediately upon like getting into this like hidden valley of like the Valley of the Wind, it brings me.
By the way, one of my top places to live.
Oh yeah,
the place is
beautiful.
The most idyllic that I could think of.
And that's what I was thinking of the same thing as talked about in Nargothrond.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the last cities to fall because all the other cities get ransacked, but none could really find. So whenever the orcs and all that stuff finds Nargothrond, it's like a big deal that like once that falls, it's like all hope is lost.
Yeah.
So anyways, so the fact that like we look on this, like, I mean, this idyllic valley and it's so beautiful and it's got these like windmills that are, and it's just this cool thing. I was this hidden valley, you know, of the wind. And it's like, oh dude, how cool is that? And it just reminded me of that, of like this hidden valley that no one knows how to get to cross through this forest to get to it. Anyways, it was just this cool thing. Yeah. So it reminded me of that, and that's why I wrote that down. I just typed in Nargothrond, and I was like, the first thing that it reminded me of was that.
Damn.
But this is where I was talking about Lord Yupa. You said he's touted as, of course, this big bad guy.
Right.
I'm sorry, not big bad guy. This badass. The big guy.
Oh yeah.
I was like, to continue with Lord of the Rings.
He's the Gandalf.
I was going to say to keep with Lord of the Rings. Lord Yupa reminds me of Gandalf. My man walks into town and everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's Lord Yupa!" And everyone's like freaking out. And they're like,
"Name my baby."
Yeah, dude. They're like, "Yes." They're like, "My child has been born. Please bless her and give her a sick ass name." And I was like,
all right, G.
All right, I got it, dude. I was like, man.
I'll try my best.
He's got the biggest, baddest mustache. I mean, this guy's got just a full broom on his upper lip. My guy is rocking the biggest mustache.
Oh yeah.
And he has that hairstyle that was popular probably a handful of years ago. Long on the top, but like shaved sides. I was like, so this guy's got the biggest mustache and this like super cool haircut. I was like, bro, who is this guy?
Right.
Yupa out here.
Can we get a movie about him too?
Dude, I was telling you, it's like Lord Yupa comes into town and all the ladies were like, oh my god. It was like freaking out. I was like, the dudes too. They're like, yeah, it's
like,
my
tell
guy.
me some fucking story.
Guy shouts that from, he's like, hey, you're definitely gonna tell me your stories on the road tonight. I was like, damn, what a guy.
I'll hear tell of your travels.
Yeah, well, that's so cool, dude.
Ain't nobody got more clout than this dude.
Nah, dude. He rolls up and everyone's like, "Yeah, we're gonna get out the way, and we'll talk. It's
time to fucking party.
Yeah, it's time to go.
Yupa's back.
Show me your fireworks." No, that's Gandalf. Sorry, but this is where things start to pick up. So we have the setup, which I think is a pretty brief setup. It probably continues a little bit more, but then we start to get to where the real action starts to happen. Is this plane comes into, which I think I kind of brushed over it. I didn't really talk about it, but the whole reason why Yupa and Nausicaä met up was because of this big, what they call ohm. Is that right?
Yeah.
And it's big. I mean, they're kind of creepy. Personally, I'm not a big bug guy. You know that.
Right, yeah.
But
These are the coolest fucking bugs
you
will ever see. And to me, that goes for every insect in this film.
Right.
But man, there's just something fucking mystical about the ohms.
Oh yeah, they definitely have it's set up very well. That they're a lot more important than they're led to. Then first,
the protectors / gods of the Sea of Decay.
Right. And so Nausicaä is able to calm them down with her her tricks that she's learned, and even Lord Yupa is like, damn, that's actually kind of wow that she can do that. That's actually really impressive. Right. So even at that point,
he describes it as a strange power.
Yeah. Which again later on, like we mentioned, whenever we figure out how Lord Yupa is he's a big deal. Retroactively, you're like, oh, so that's kind of a big compliment. The fact that he's like, damn, she's kind of wild.
I couldn't do that.
It's like, okay, so there's something here to this. Or for me, it gave it credibility for me. At first, you're like, is he just a random traveler? Then once you learn that there's a master, a sensei apprentice kind of thing, it's like, okay, his comments mean a lot more. And then the fact they roll into town and everyone's like, then it's like, okay, so this guy's a big deal.
Right.
And the fact that he was like, damn, she's wild. It's like, okay, for me, it kept adding credibility. It's like, okay, so Nausicaa's got something going on. She's also the princess of the Valley of the Wind.
Right.
So if that has anything to go off,
coolest fucking princess I know of.
I'm telling you, man, she's pretty badass. So I'm saying all this because now that we get to this like this ramp up portion where this like ship comes down, and this guy, I mean, they're flying left and right, and they're going all kinds of crazy directions.
They got
You're
bugs
like,
all over the window.
What's happened? Yeah. They crash. There's another princess from a different kingdom, and she's like, burn the cargo.
Right. Burn everything.
And of course, Nausicaa's like, don't worry.
Everything's on fire.
Everything's on fire. You're totally fine.
You
And she's
fucking
like,
crashed, remember?
She's like, thank you. And of course, slowly perishes.
Right. Succumbs to her wounds.
Right. And then, of course, not too long later, there's a friggin' undulating orb. And you're like, okay, that has to be the cargo she's talking about. And it most certainly is not burned up.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, the regular worker guys are like, or just the regular guys out there are like, hey, yo, it's the only thing that didn't burn up.
Right. What the hell is this thing?
What's that about? And this whole thing is kind of traumatizing because for the first time, not only is there like bugs all over the windshield, the plane crashes, it's fire, there's all kinds of stuff, and like you're trying to save this person. It's like, okay, we're like dealing with like people death now,
right?
And like, of course, there's like a hand, and it's like burned, like, and it's like, holy shit, we're dealing with like some pretty big stuff here.
Yeah.
My words exactly were plane crash, trauma, saves bugs.
Right.
Which I think it goes in that exact order, because then they're starting to, like, of course, all the pitchforks and torches are like, oh, there's a bug here, we have to kill it. And of course, she's like, no, wait.
Everybody's like, no, don't, it's going to call for more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're like, don't fire, don't shoot. And she ends up doing her magic again and ends up like,
pulls out that charm.
Yeah.
Gives him a little pep talk. It's like, hey, bro.
Yeah.
That crash wasn't so bad. You can still get the hell out of here.
You're good.
Right.
Come with me.
Yeah.
And then she hops on her glider and flies away. And this, I wrote this down here. I said, I want a glider too.
Yeah.
Because I feel that. I'm like, dude, the second she hops on it, like flies away and just kind of like touches down somewhere and helps the little guy out.
Liberating.
And then, of course, just flies off again. I'm like, oh, how fun is that, dude?
I wish.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I was like, I want one of those. But I love that is whenever she like lands down, and of course the bug like continues to kind of fly away, there's this one ominous ohm on the horizon, just like
in the distance,
standing there. Or I don't say standing, but just
right, just chilling out,
peering with all its 10 eyes, just like looking at it, looking on the horizon, like good.
Right.
And it's like, okay, all right.
It's we made the joke that they're just judges.
Yeah.
Of whatever needs judging.
Yes.
And,
I like this.
Right. Nausicaa's been friend to nature in all aspects. So of course the ohms got her like, you're good. You're on the list. All right.
You're on a good list. Yeah.
Like
they just in the upper right hand corner, the ohm approves this.
Right.
This action.
It feels like the equivalent of just like taking a hike in the woods and just like stumbling upon a deer.
Right.
And just locking eyes.
Yep.
And then just going your separate ways.
Yep.
But
whimsical.
Yeah.
This movie has a what is it called whenever like the big message, the big mission. I can't think of the word. The like main objective of this is like be good to nature,
right?
Be kind to animals and don't kill them inadvertently, or especially bugs specifically in this film. But I kind of don't be cruel to animals because the forest will come back to haunt you.
Right.
That's what it feels like a little bit.
Be aware of your effect on the world.
Exactly. From our main character's perspective, there's obviously bigger things at play with the giant guardians or whatever it was, the giant monsters, and then the whole spore thing and the fact that like all that stuff. There's other things at play, but like at the end of the day, the main takeaway of it is like, hey, you should be kind to nature.
You best be respecting that shit.
Respect the nature, respect the elder gods of the forest. Which, speaking of elder gods, I also wrote down there's a certain point in time where they bring that undulating orb I discussed into, I guess, some sort of base, fort, or somewhere.
Right, they hide that thing away somewhere.
They hide it away somewhere, and And no, I'm sorry. That's before that. Before that, I want to say what I have written down here is from what Lord Yupa says whenever he's up against the orb the first time.
Right.
They're standing there, and of course they're like, "What is this?" And if I'm not mistaken, he's like, "I knew that there was some sort of undisturbed power underneath Pajite." But or he said something along those lines of like, I know there was some
ominous rumor.
Oh, yeah. And so all I wrote was old god beneath Pajite. Right. I don't know what it is, but they dug too deep and they got some orb of this elder god.
Just unearthed one of the beings responsible for the 7 days of fire.
Yes. Which is
that wiped out civilization 1,000 years ago.
This movie does, I think, a pretty good job on world building. It sets up certain questions and then it pays it off later, or it doesn't go. It goes into just enough detail, I feel like, to have you fully understand what's going on.
Right. You can get a vague idea of certain events in the past or current events.
Right. We get this understanding, like he was talking about, these 7 days of fire, which led to like all this other stuff happening and the eventual sea of decay that is now spread across the world. So it's like, okay, we're piecing this thing together. And this egg, for lack of a better term, this flesh egg is there you go. That's gross. Never thought I'd say that before. Is probably some sort of unbirthed. What are they called? The
giant warriors.
Giant warriors. Yeah. I knew it was something simple, but I couldn't think of what it was.
Right.
I kept wanting to call it guardians or old gods, which I know is not what that is. But anyways, and this is where it starts. It gets into what I was talking about. Because once they have that whole situation takes place, more planes come down and
just straight up invade the valley.
And not only just invade, but with knights and tanks. What more could you ask for?
Right.
We got knights with swords and shields and rifles, guns, and tanks.
It's a perfect combo.
And what I'm telling you, man, is at that point, it's like, this is what I'm talking about, my otherworldly fantasy. We got guys clad in armor with these cool cloaks on. Right. We got rifles.
It's the same reason I love Turn A so much.
Yeah. Never seen Turn A in its entirety, but you've told me about it, and I've seen a lot of it. But I love that mix of it. Post-apocalyptic, spore, big bugs, guns, but armor, flying planes.
Right. These comparatively like primitive society of people using what could be considered modern technology or future tech even.
Right. At a certain point in time, they have flame guns that burn off the spores of certain areas of the trees. Crazy.
Yeah.
Cool
stuff.
And this is the sad part. Sad for me.
Yeah.
Because we learn earlier that Nausicaa's dad has fallen ill, and I think his body has deteriorated.
Right.
So like he can't get out of bed and move because it's progressed so far. Which is already sad in and of itself.
Right.
But then these guys roll up, these knights with the tanks and all that shit or whatever.
200% bus ass.
200% buzz ass. They just come, they bust down the door, and I'm telling you, that's my king.
Right.
My man can't even move his lower half, and he's like, he asks the shaman lady, he's like, he's like, oh baba. He's like, pass me my sword. I ain't going down without a fight. And I was like, hell yeah.
Oh man.
I don't know who that other bitch is, but she's not my king. That's my king. He got his sword whipped out, and then I'm telling you, they bust in the door,
and all you hear is a gunshot.
I'm like, damn, they did him dirty.
Yeah, Nausicaa's already like rushing to the castle.
100%. Because of course she hears all the commotion. He's like, oh my dad. So she runs in, and buddy,
as soon as she sees her father lying on the floor,
dead,
she just goes ballistic.
She goes,
kills most of the dudes in that room.
Dude, when I'm telling you, justified.
Oh yeah,
100% justified.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't care who you are.
Right. You killed my fucking dad.
In that moment, yes, you could probably look back on it, and we can all repent for the sins we've committed.
Right.
And we can all say, I probably should have better judgment.
Sorry about your family if you have one.
Dude,
you killed my dad.
There's a certain point in time, and I'm telling you, she walks in, and I mean, the voice acting is very well done.
Mm-hmm.
The animation is very well done. She walks in, and you see like the pupils of her eyes shrink down, and the gasp, and of course just the shrill cry of a daughter witnessing her death.
Mm-hmm.
But not only that, there's this what looks to be a guy who's kind of in charge.
Right.
And what was it? Would you say 4 or 5 other guys? 5 or 6?
Yeah.
There's so you walk in, and your dad, who was in his bed, is now dead on the ground,
right,
circled around 5 other dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And
one of which he did kill, mind you. One dude was just on the bed, like stabbed through the chest.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so that's what I didn't see that, but that's okay. So hey, that's my king. That's what I'm talking about. He got one. He got one in good.
Yeah.
You may have shot me, but I ain't going down without a swing.
Mm-hmm.
Goes haywire.
Oh yeah,
Nausicaä. And I mean, I don't know what I think she has a cane. It was like a walking stick.
Just a fucking cane.
She got whatever she could. And I mean, she's like deflecting these sword.
Right, breaking necks.
I mean,
breaking bones, breaking swords.
100%. There's this one guy, he goes to swing, and she hits the blade so hard it shatters. And he goes, huh? And then, of course, gets absolutely gets his shit rocked by the head of that cane. I'm like, oh, yeah, dude. And so she literally kills all of them and injures the head guy.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's like a steward of some kind.
Right. And then the fucking knights, the fully armored knights come in.
Yeah.
And she keeps going. She fucking like...
Dude, she, at this point in time, she then reaches down and picks up one of the swords of the other guys who are like not as well clad in armor.
Right.
And then she just goes to stab this thing. But of course, here comes Mr. Gandalf.
Right.
Lord Yupa comes out of nowhere, and he's like, hey.
Right. Takes Nausicaä's blade to the forearm,
100%.
Has his dagger in between the plate armor of one of the knights, and is like, all right, y'all better cut this shit out right now.
Cut this shit out. He's like, you move at all, and this blade is going to go into your armor.
Oh, yeah.
Nausicaä, I need you to chill out. We're going to figure this out. And I was like, damn, dude, this guy's crazy.
He straight up just starts lecturing them on how we just finished burying a good portion of your people after trying to save them from a fucking plane crash.
Right.
So,
but you calm down.
Right. Shape up.
Yeah.
You just explain yourselves.
You just came in here and killed our king.
Right.
For no reason.
Mm-hmm. Way to go.
Way to go. And of course, then we see our first, we see like the I guess the ruler of this group of people. She's clad in gold armor.
Mm-hmm.
This
Kushana.
This white cloak, and it's kind of a no nonsense kind of lady.
Right. Division leader.
Yeah. And they kind of come to some consensus, but there is like a ruling presence of them, and it's not very pretty.
Right. It's very very conquest focused.
Exactly. So, and of course, they're ruling with an iron fist, which is understandable from their perspective, not from the Valley of the Wind. I'm saying like they are like they came in here, guns blazing, so they have to kind of keep that
military state.
Exactly. So it's very much like, from their perspective, that's why they have to do that sort of stuff. But from the people of the Valley, they're like, we just found out that our king is dead, and like, we ain't having that, which that's more justified in my personal opinion. I'm more like on their side of like,
we were minding our own fucking business.
Your plane crashed here. We have nothing to do about it.
Yeah.
We tried to help them, in fact. So, but anyways, none of that was said. None of that was cooperated in so many words. And that's why I think there was a lot of just bloodshed right out the gate, which is like, hey, that was needless. So anyways, then there's this kind of this back and forth between, setting up some sort of power structure with them or whatever.
Right.
But this is the part that kind of broke my heart. Our guy, Lord Yupa, tries to find Nausicaä.
Right.
Because now she has secluded herself.
Right. After convincing the townsfolk not to revolt and cause more needless slaughter.
Yes. which is hard
Mhm.
because it's like you want to do that,
Right.
but there's so much more of an opposing force on the other side.
Mhm.
So, anyways, Lord Yupa ends up finding this little secret passageway and
Right.
goes down all these stairs and
Mhm.
and tunnels and all that kind of stuff, and
Right.
gets down to like
through
this,
the catacombs.
and then gets down to this like it looks like one of the places in the Sea of Decay,
Mm.
which usually you have to have a mask on for all that stuff.
Right. She's
But-
just been
Cultivating this,
Mhm.
like there's all these different spores, these plants, and all this stuff, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, Lord Yupa's like, yo, what did you
right.
did all this, and then
Mhm.
how is that even possible? And she kind of describes a little bit about how it's the earth itself that I think is the problem, the
Mhm.
surface level, but like once you get beneath the earth,
Right.
there's
These reservoirs draw deep from within the earth.
right,
If
and
with
that's
pure
and it's
air
clean.
and water. These plants are harmless.
Right. And it's like, oh, so there's a barrier there that's
Mhm.
like something's going on. So again, we get a little bit more world building, just a little bit more that kind of helps flush some things out. But then the part that breaks my heart was she was like, I created all this and I was doing all this to try and find some cure for my dad. And now that he's gone, it's like I may as well shut all this down. Or
Right.
this may as well go all away, which is like, I understand a little bit, but it's also like, man, that's so.
Mm-hmm. It's rough.
Because I think she says in that dialogue a little bit, she's like, I've been working on this for years. I've been doing this. I've been cultivating this for so long
Oh yeah.
to try and help my dad out. And it's like, oh man, that hurts to hear.
Mhm.
But yeah. So.
Yep.
What
else you got notes wise?
That was like a lot of the big portions of it. Again, we start to get into this like the second act now, where there's again this power struggle. We're going back and forth between different people and all that kind of stuff. There's a moment where she goes away. If I'm not mistaken, is it Vegeta, the ones that were like enforcing the rule on them?
No, that was, I can't remember the name of the other country.
Tolmechia. They end up saying we have to have like a couple of hostages and stuff to go back to their place or whatever. That was like a bartering thing.
Right.
So they end up going away. The reason why I was saying this was like there's this moment where they're all flying away on the horizon. Nausicaä being one of them.
Right.
And for the first time, I get the chance to look at like the cloaks in this. Like the up until now, there's been a lot of cloaks in this film.
Right.
But for the first time, as like Obaba and Lord Yupa are standing there, both of them, their badass cloaks just flowing in the wind. I'm like, this movie has so many great cloaks. And I just said, these cloaks go hard as hell. Every one of these cloaks, just them standing there, so badass.
Oh yeah,
it's so great.
I like how Obaba's cloak has those like jewels on around the rim of the hood that resemble the eyes of the Om.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, speaks to a bit of a connection there.
Yep, she's like
at least how she's more in tune, or at least knows how they operate and knows what not to do to them.
Yeah. There's I took a break from taking some notes and just was like enjoying the movie because like there's this moment where they're in the plains, this whole catastrophe breaks out where this one gunship comes down and just starts like absolutely nuking these like large ships.
Right.
I mean, this guy he's lifting the weight. This guy's
Right.
he is taking down these ships like they're nothing. It's like, damn, he's putting in work. Then there's a moment where there's like this connection between Nausicaä and him, and of course, but he ends up getting, shot and ends up falling down out of the sky, and you're like, I don't know what's going on. The main ship that they're on starts to, get destroyed as well. What is the lead lady's name? Kushana and Nausicaä end up getting into this like plane as they end up evacuating. But like we end up getting to this part where like all these ships have crashed, and there's this great moment in the water,
right,
where
after they touch down,
the quote unquote hostages are in their plane on this river, or sorry, in this like lake or whatever, and of course Nausicaa and
Mito,
and all them like start to fly down, and Kushana is like hidden in the back or whatever,
right.
and like Nausicaa is the most, from the beginning of the film, you know that she is the most intelligent about things outside of the city, like in this like sea of decay. So a lot of times, anytime she says something, the other guys are like, "All right, princess, you got it." Like, well, like
they do anything she said regardless, but especially out here,
100%. The second that she is able to like prove to them, like, "Hey, I've done, I know what I'm talking about," they're like, "You got it." Whereas Kushana's not on that. She's more so like, I'm the one taking orders here.
Right, I have the gun.
I call the orders. And of course, in the most chill way possible, Nausicaa's like, you don't want to do that.
Right. Don't be scared.
Don't be scared.
Fine.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Just put the gun away.
You fire that.
You know what's gonna show up if you fire off a shot?
Yep.
I don't.
She's like, look up there. You see all those bugs flying around? Those are scouts.
Yeah.
The second they find out what the hell all these crashed planes are happening about, they're gonna start sending in the big boys.
Oh yeah.
When the big boys come around, they don't play. You start firing off that shot, we're going to be in some bad spots.
Right.
And of course, she's like, I don't take no whatever.
Does it anyway.
Yeah.
Like
and of course,
dumbass.
so then Nausicaa ends up proceeding to do what she's doing. And of course, then she fires a shot and it ricochets off the hull of one of the planes.
And then we get ripples in the water.
Yep. And then the Ohms show up. Oh, me and my Ohm start showing up, rolling up, causing some shit.
Right.
And of course, she's like, "Hey."
They rise up out the water like, "Fuck the ops."
Yeah.
Who the hell are you?
Yeah. They rise up like, "Who woke me up?"
Right.
Who out here wonking their willy?
Oh God.
I think it's that girl right there with a gun.
Yeah.
And she's terrified.
Justifiably absolutely stunned.
Stunned still.
So
and
Nausicaa starts spitting
100%
straight bars.
Yeah, he's like,
hey, everything's fine. We crashed.
Sorry,
we're not here to hurt anybody.
Not here to ruin
just
your
let
day.
us go. And the it's just like, I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah.
And evidently they're able to communicate in some way or another.
Yeah.
By using these tendrils they have. And I don't know if they've got some sort of like psychic connection or some shit, but they're evidently able to glean like intentions just by feeling up on you enough.
Yeah. They start touching you with these like almost like jellyfish kind of tendril type things, and then with that there's some sort of like he was saying, like it connects with their memory, or it's some sort of like they have some sort of otherworldly
Either she's
thing.
just in the zone and is recalling a bunch of shit, or it's just like peering into her mind.
Yeah. But there's like this beautiful like flashback of like her trying to preserve this like little baby Ohm, and her father, I think, assuming or like other humans, or like
humans, it's her father.
Humans and bugs can't reside in the same land together or whatever. And so at that point, they, the Ohms release her and be like, "Yeah, you're cool with us. You're chill." Making sure we didn't search through your memory bank. We find you, torturing bugs, little magnifying glass on some ants. We would have killed you at that point. But you're fine. And so they end up sinking back down like we are appeased by this.
Oh no, they move on to the
or they move on. Yeah. Right. But
to the next nearest threat.
Yeah, the other threat. And then of course I love this, how like Nausicaa's like, okay, so I'm gonna take my glider and try and find the other people. So she like pulls it out of one of the wings of the other plane, flies away, and I love how
as the Ohm like pulls away, she says he's still alive.
Oh, okay.
In reference to the pilot that was taking out the airships,
who was put in the work.
Yeah. And so she's like, "Wait,
yeah.
Don't kill him."
Yeah.
So at that point, like you were saying, she starts getting ready to go, and one of the other villagers is just like, "All right, let's go ahead and do what she says.
Yep.
Go ahead and hand over the gun, lady." And she's just sitting there, like,
holding it out,
still as a statue.
Yeah.
And he just fucking takes it from her. It's like, all right, let's get everything situated.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Dude, I love that.
Uh-huh.
But he kind of, like, it's a little bit smug in a good way where he's like, all right, lady, give me the gun.
Right.
I think we're all good to go now. Come on, boys, let's go. I'm like, Dad,
You saw that shit?
Yeah.
That's what happened.
See, that's why we follow what she says. So the second that she pulls up, shit goes our way. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You over here, miss, I got to have my way.
Right. A lot of good that armor's going to do you.
Sit your ass down. Anyways, so I got the gun now. I make the decisions. But she ends up finding this young man. And he is fighting for his life.
Right, at odds with the hordes.
Again, hey, if I was in his position, I don't blame him. This man's out here with his gun. He's like, there's a horde of bugs.
He don't know the ways of the forest.
No, he don't know the ways of the forest like Nausicaä does. So he's like, holy shit, bow, bow. He's trying his best. And he makes it to the edge of this cliff, ends up falling down, and this flying bug ends up trying to get him. There's a whole bunch of crazy stuff that happens. The part that I was getting to in my notes here is the fact that, like, there's this motif that happens in one of the themes of the song. I'm not sure if it's the main theme, but it's like, and like it happens so many times in that thing, and it's like
That'd be the main theme.
It is a motif that happens in music a lot. That same sound, but specifically in that one, it happens so many times throughout it that it feels like it's such a specific feeling that this movie gives to that little sound. Once you start to hear it, it really stands out, and it's really interesting. But I liked it, especially in that moment where they're like, whenever they fall through the sand and they're in this, again, even more otherworldly space.
The Underdark.
Yeah, right, 100%. These like tall trees that also feel very organic with how like the different roots, quote unquote, like kind of like spread out. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I start to realize that in Ghibli films, and I've heard this before, I think, but I never really quite understood it, but I think I do now, is that Ghibli films don't have conventional love stories.
Right.
Or even like love stories at all, really. They have really great friendship / companionship growth stories that then end up leading to a point where it's like they a lot of times lead to this pinnacle of you are my person and I confide in you and trust you more than anybody else. And that has some level of love involved in it. That's how it gets to it. It's never like, you're attractive and I love you and I want and that's what it is, or like, you saved me, so therefore I love you now. But it's like this.
Everything else seems shallow by comparison after you witness this shit, man.
100%, and it happens in so many of them. By the time the movie's over, most times, if any, they will never kiss or even outright state the love and affection for that person, but there's so much other things around it that you're like, I mean, at that point, I've never had a relationship like that with anybody. Yeah. You may as well get married at that point is what it feels like. And I feel like that is with what was his name? I can't remember his name. Aspel. Yeah. Dude, like there's this lovely moment where he she, how do you say this? She saves his life. He doesn't shoot, preserving her life in the midst and somehow almost killing himself, basically. Right. Then at the very end, he's guns blazing, trying to kill all this stuff. She ends up saving him from the big bug, and then of course then she ends up having her mask fly off in the spore area. So she's like, oh my god, she's gonna die. So then they start going in the sand. There's this whole like back and forth of them like both saving each other, and it's crazy. And it gets to a point where like they're in this Underdark, for lack of a better term, right? And of course he's like, I can't believe this. It's clean down here. Oh my gosh! And so he's like,
we can breathe.
Yeah, he finds her glider, and he's like, hey, look, I found your stuff. We can make it out of here. And it's like they feel like they're friends at this point because of all the trauma they just went through, basically.
Right. At the very least, acquaintances.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Friends by circumstance.
Right, of 100%. But then there's this lovely moment where, like, and it's so brief, and it probably means nothing, but it means so much to me because of the context of it all.
Yeah.
They're sitting in this Underdark. She had this whole revelation. She's had this moment with the sand.
Right, straight up. She just, like, whenever she, like, gets a good look at her surroundings, she just, like, zones out and just starts walking. Like, just exploring everything.
Right.
And
because it's what she was talking about, like the fact that it's all coming from deep within.
She puts that connection together, and then she just breaks down and cries tears of joy.
Right.
Because there's still hope.
Right, and that's what I'm talking about. But then there's this moment where it's dark in there, and he has this little lamp, like this little like flare kind of like flashlight kind of thing on the ground, and he's like, I don't even fully remember what he was talking about because of what Nausicaä said was more impactful for me, is that like he's talking about what he needs to do or what we can do. The fact we have the glider now, the fact that we can like, at least what I remember briefly. He's like, we can still make it, we can still do this, and he's like kind of planning ahead. But the scene around it is like it's dark in here. It's time to like get some rest.
Right.
Nausicaa's laying on her back, and she's like, don't worry about all that. We can figure all that out later. But for now, we just need to get some rest. And then she just takes a deep breath and then like slowly passes off into sleep. And it's so peaceful. And then he just sits there and he's like, he takes a deep breath and doesn't say anything else. But it's like, we all know that feeling of like, you don't have to say it, but you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's all we have to do is just, all we have to do right now is just take a deep breath and just get some rest, because that's all we can do right now.
Yeah.
And so he takes the jacket that he took off earlier to cover her whenever she like, was first, in the Underdark area. So he like places that over her as like a last gesture of like a little nice gesture, and then also proceeds to lay down. And I was like, what a lovely little brief moment. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like there was no romantic stuff involved, but it was just these little gestures of like, I'm here for you.
Right.
I care about you. And at this point in time, if nothing else, we're companions, and I got your back.
We're in this shit together.
We're in this shit together. And it's like that stuff that like, again, it builds and builds and builds. And I've talked about this with other Ghibli films of like these little things that build and build and build until you're like, I don't know what I'd do without you. I mean, we're not in a relationship, but damn, I don't think I could live without you right now. I feel like you're such an integral part of of all the things I've been through. And I feel like I've been through all this with you. And maybe that's a personal thing. Maybe I have a dependency on people that I have gone through a lot of shit with, maybe that I in my life. It's like the second we go through some hard times together, I'm like, I'm with you.
Right.
I'm ride or die. Maybe that, who knows? I haven't really, analyze myself that deep about that kind of stuff. But I look
really
at that and I'm like,
any other that kind of situation before.
Right. So anyways, it's that kind of stuff. The whole, like, it doesn't feel like a conventional love story, but you feel like there's this tight companionship that I've noticed with numerous Ghibli films, especially between like a male and female character, in that kind of sense or whatever, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
But then we start to get to like, we're starting to approach the end of the film here. We bring back around to like this orb we keep talking about.
Right.
And I love that Dylan brought up the old phrase, man-made horrors beyond your comprehension.
Right. Oh, God. Yeah, this thing is one of them.
100%. Terrifying.
Yeah. No, it's...
yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, you never... You can only guess as to what this thing's final form would be based on how you see it later.
Yeah.
But my God, it's terrifying.
It's gross.
Yeah, no, it's just some giant humanoid with gnarled, sharp-ass teeth.
Yeah.
Bulging green eyes. And just fires nuke beams.
100%.
Like
terrifying.
Yeah. But on that note, that conversation they were having like in the Underdark.
Yeah.
Before that scene you mentioned was a bit of foreshadowing on Aspel's part. Whenever Nausicaä said he started sounding like Kushana, talking about how he's gonna get back against the Tolmekians.
Yeah.
But he's like, once you meet my friends tomorrow, you'll understand. And then,
Uh-oh.
yeah, they make it to where Pejite used to be,
Right.
and find that it's a wreck, smoldering rubble with nothing but corpses left behind. And at first, Aspel is, of course, distraught, and then he says, they wiped out the Tolmekians, but the city's gone, and it's like, what the fuck do you mean they wipe it out? Now, of course, your first impression mean they being the bugs, but no. His own people did this to their own city.
That's crazy.
Just to wipe out the Tolmekians that were occupying it.
That's crazy.
Absolutely insane. From what I can tell, all that's left is just a fucking small little, like, plain filled with whatever's left of their people. And now they're going to do the same thing to the Tolmekians that are in the Valley of the Wind.
That's crazy.
Yeah, by instigating a fucking bug stampede.
Yeah.
Now, Obaba had mentioned this before whenever the Tolmekians were hyping themselves up, like, we're gonna lead you to prosperity, we're gonna burn the Sea of Decay, and it's just like, hold up.
Yep, we can't do that.
We tried that before.
Yep.
And let me tell you what happened. The Ohms form a wall, an utter wave of destruction.
Yep.
And she's like, the motherfuckers didn't stop until they fucking died by starving themselves to death.
Right.
And then the Sea of Decay spreads through their fucking corpses.
Right.
After all the fungus and, like, spores take root. So he's like, before you even think about doing that, just take that into account, please.
Yeah, please.
So, of course, the people of Pejite are making the same fucking mistake and are only worsening the situation.
Yeah.
But Nausicaä be sure to let them know how fucking awful they are,
dude.
Upon hearing this.
Oh man, and I love when Asbel is like, she's like, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about.
Right.
The fact that he now knows that his people has done something so horrific, he is shocked. And the fact that, like, now Nausicaä is, like, fighting to get back onto her glider to get out to, like, warn her people of what's about to happen. All the guys are, like, holding her down.
Right.
And Asbel's just standing there, like, in shock. But then,
he's conflicted with himself. Because at that point, he did know what they did. Like, he knew what happened.
Right.
He just didn't expect it to be that fucking awful.
Yeah.
So at that point, he's questioning like, whether or not he wants to just take her hostage or let her go. At which point, he just fucking grabs a gun from the mayor's belt. And he's like, let her go.
Yeah.
But,
and I love how he shoots the ground. He's like, let her go.
Right. Unfortunately, they conk him on the head one good time and he's out.
Sad.
Yeah.
And then we kind of like flash over to like the fact that the Golden Knight lady is in hostage now.
Yeah, the townsfolk were able to revolt and take back control.
Right.
But after they've detained her, she just lays out their options, quote unquote.
Right.
It's like, go ahead and use the fucking giant warrior.
Yeah.
Bugs are on their way already. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. And she just decides to show off her prosthetic arm.
Yeah.
Like, take a look at this.
Right.
And Yupa's like, I take it a
Excuse
bug
me?
did that. Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. And dude, and then, I mean, what a hard line this next thing is. And also kind of scary.
Right.
She says, whoever becomes my husband will see how much worse it is.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo,
Jesus Christ.
It's like, damn. Because at this point,
it's got half ate.
I was going to say, because at this point, like, she has always worn like this white cloak that has covered her entire body.
Right.
And it's big. So it makes her, has this like wide, big, like presence. It's really interesting. So
outside of the armor, you just see how she's got, in addition to her prosthetic left arm, she's got 2 prosthetic legs.
Yeah. But I just think that line is it's such an interesting, for me at least, an interesting way to say, you think losing
this ain't even the worst of it.
This ain't even the worst of it.
Right.
You would have to be very intimate with me to see just how disfigured the rest of my entire body is. And it's like, oh, oh my
Jesus
God.
Christ.
It was such a hard line.
Yeah.
Like, I was not expecting it. Because she
Mhm.
also kind of says it in this kind of, this kind of like smug, just
Right.
kind of rolls off the tongue. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
you got to, whoever becomes,
You ain't seen nothing yet.
whoever becomes my husband will know the rest of how bad this
Right.
shit is. And it's like, oh my, what, how, I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Like, that sounds
Yeah.
awful. But
Yeah,
anyways,
it's rough.
dude, and I don't know when this scene happens.
Mhm.
I think it's directly after this, or it's a little bit further down. I have Gandalf akimbo
Oh yeah.
because Lord Yupa
Right.
drops down there with 2 knives, and I mean, I forgot what ship it is. I think it's one of the
it's whenever Nausicaä is trying to make her escape from
yes,
the Corvette
yeah,
from Tolmekia that is currently trying to board the one from Pajite.
yeah.
And
My man drops in there with 2 swords,
Right.
and I mean, absolutely, shows off
mhm. Yeah.
just how much of a greatest swordsman
Mhm.
in the valley he is.
Oh yeah.
And damn,
The head honcho of these Tolmekians recognizes him
yeah,
after he jumps off the fucking gunship onto their Corvette. And he's like, "Oh my fucking God, it's
Yeah,
Yupa.
yeah.
Here's a chance for some glory, lads. Grab him."
yeah,
And like he was saying, he just effortlessly like sidesteps everybody and just
oh yeah,
takes the commander hostage.
yep.
And he's
And it's like, man, he's good.
right,
Yeah,
yeah. So after that, Nausicaä and Mito are able to use the gunship to
yeah,
just try to get back to the valley to warn everyone, but not before they figure out how they're getting this stampede started.
right.
And,
And
they've
so cruel.
oh yeah, no, they've got a baby Ohm.
I don't know how, sorry, I didn't pronounce that correct. Cruel is what I said, not cool. Just in
Right,
case
right.
anybody missed that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very
no, no.
cruel.
It's okay, we know you're a heartless bastard. It's
No.
fine.
I hate bugs. I hate bugs. I really do. Grosses me out. But I was
Right.
like, but damn, that's kind of
Not
shitty.
the Ohms, man.
Not the Ohms, man. Ain't that bad.
They got a baby strung
Yeah,
up.
And my
Like,
Ohmies. I know I had to. I'm sorry. It was a low hanging fruit. Not the Ohms, dude. I was freaking bad. I tell you what. I was like, I don't like bugs, but I ain't here to torture them.
Right. So yeah, they got this poor little baby strung up, all bleeding,
Yeah.
and are just
They've
using it
like-
as bait.
They've drilled like an eye screw into its carapace
Mm-hmm.
and just like wrapped a rope around the hole
Yeah.
and just carrying them with that. And it looks like they just like shoved iron rebar and
I think they had
and
like
bombs or whatever inside of them.
right. They had shot at it with some such
Yeah.
or the other to just get it weak enough that they could restrain it in this
Right.
way.
It's actively bleeding though. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
it's hurt
Mm-hmm.
and it's just being drugged by its wounds.
Right. So immediately she gets to her glider after
Yeah.
like ripping off
Some
one of the
metal
handles like
bar.
in the co-pilot's seat, using it as a fucking rail to like slide
Yeah.
across the rope that's tethered to her glider, and she makes a fucking beeline for him. Like, I have to stop them
Yeah.
somehow. But not before Mito almost fucking shoots them down.
Yeah.
And she's got to talk him down. Like, if you kill the baby or put it at any more risk than
Right.
it already is, it's only going to make things worse.
Yeah.
So from that point on, she's just circling the motherfuckers, trying to get them to stop.
Right.
And because one of the Pajite women switched places with her on that ship as her
Yeah.
hostage, switched clothes with her as well,
Right.
she makes a pass at this little ship that they're on, and the gunner is like,
Yeah.
he can't shoot her because he only sees Lastel,
Right.
the Pajite princess,
Right.
that
Because it's
died.
in the same like robe, like or
Mhm.
the same clothing or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I can't.
Right. So of course the other dude, fucking asshole, straight up like shoves the guy out of the way and shoots
Yeah.
Nausicaä, like grazes her twice.
Yeah.
Once in the shoulder, the other on the foot.
Yeah.
Man,
Crazy.
I could not get up after this.
Really?
No, man, that shit looked like it hurt.
Yeah.
So after they crash on this little island,
Yeah. Surrounded by a sea of acid.
right, the acid lake they
Yeah.
call it.
Terrifying.
She slowly like struggles to get up and attend to this baby, after like trying to calm it down and just get it to stand still.
It's panicking justifiably.
Right. It's about to just like bum rush into the like through the lake to get to the other homes.
Right.
And like she straight up just is at the front of this thing, like pushing back after it just barely gets her, like her wounded foot. That has just been shot. Just takes a little dip in the acid lake, dude. And she fucking screams bloody murder.
And when I tell you, that is the best scream.
Oh yeah.
And
you feel that shit.
100%. Mm-hmm. It is the scream of a young woman dipping her foot in acid.
Yeah.
And just imagine how guttural and visceral that scream must sound.
Oh yeah.
And it's exactly what it is. The second it happened, I was like, it made me feel uncomfortable because I was like, that is the most accurate sound.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, it made me feel uncomfortable hearing it.
Yeah. So after falling to the ground, the Ohm like mellows out and is like, "Oh shit, are you all right?"
Right. Yeah. He's like, "Hey, I'm sorry."
He's like, "Whoa.
I'll stop. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Right. After coming to its senses, they
yeah.
Oh man.
It also brings its tendrils out and is like, "Hey, let me just check your vibe. Like, I know you're not doing so well."
It recoils from the wound, like, "Oh, that's bad."
Yeah. Oh,
damn,
shit.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, I did that. Damn.
Right. Whoops. So after making sure she's okay, they share a little moment.
Yeah.
And after a while, we find that Kushana has linked back up with her forces.
Yeah.
And corralled the last few townspeople into the ruins of this old like submarine and or starship.
Right.
That is next to the acid lake.
Yeah.
Which I had mentioned earlier whenever we were watching the movie that it's one of my favorite aspects of the film.
Yeah.
Like just like that unspoken story element of it. Like it looks like a fucking submarine. It's next to what remains of a body of water.
Yeah.
That is now reduced to just nothing but acid.
Yeah. Whatever it was is now so much less and more concentrated than it was before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, after she got them cornered, she decides to wait 1 hour in case Nausicaä comes back because she wants to talk to her.
Right.
She's slowly been convinced that maybe that girl's on the fucking level. Maybe I'm just stupid.
Right.
I'm gonna wait.
Right. I've seen her in action a handful of times, and she's able to make some miracles happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So once Mito gets back in the gunship, both her and her counselor like make a fucking dash for the ship.
Yeah.
Like this is after she's ordered her forces to like press on and start the attack.
Right.
But then she sees him and is like, "Hold fire!"
Yeah.
She's like next to the gunner on one of these tanks after he like just doesn't stop after she says she straight up like conks him on the head. Like, cut that shit out!
Yeah.
He immediately runs to the ship and is like, "Where's the girl?" And Mito explains the situation like the Ohms are on their way. It's the end of the fucking world. Everyone find the highest place you can and hope to the gods that you survive.
Yep.
So she gets the bright idea to go and fetch the giant warrior because if nothing else can stop it, I mean, might as well give it a shot. But after she like lines her tanks up in front of this old submarine and just orders them to like fire a few volleys here and there.
Right.
This the fucking pilots of that little floaty that was carrying the Ohm are
dude.
This one dude is just laughing like those idiots are drawing them with their own fire.
Yeah.
And then
dude,
he's like, okay, we need to check the engine and get the fuck out of here before we die. And as he like goes around to the underside of the float,
the camera cuts
and Nausicaä is like holding the fucking gun, the machine gun that was on top of this thing,
straight out of Halo 3. Rip that shit off.
Press B to detach machine gun.
Exactly, that guy. She's holding it there. I mean, at the hip. As if it is a machine gun she ripped off of its tripod.
Right. You're going to take me and the baby over there. And she's like, are you fucking nuts? We're going to die.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, fine. Drop us off then, bitch.
Yeah.
You're getting us over there.
Yeah. Dude, I was like, wow. That's so badass.
Uh-huh.
I was like, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, they get over there.
Yep.
The townsfolk are huddled on top of the submarine.
Yeah.
The children are telling Obaba what's happening.
Right, because she's also blind, by the way.
Right. Can't see a damn thing.
Right.
But they're like, Obaba, are we going to die? And she's just like, if that's our fate, we just got to roll with it, Chief.
Bruh, this is what I'm talking about.
Like, damn.
This is what I'm talking about.
Right.
Like, that's
I ain't going to sugarcoat it, sweetheart.
Yeah. We may die.
We might be dead.
Yeah.
So...
if you're describing what I think you're describing, we
it's
may
the
not
end
make
times, baby. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, and then they see the princess.
Yep.
Ohm in tow.
Yep.
And she's like, oh my fucking God.
Oh my God, it just happened.
Right. So after they land, Ohms ain't stopping.
No, dude.
They're pissed.
She
blinded by rage.
She has them drop her off in the middle, the middle between the tanks and all the knights and the swarm of Ohm.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, shoulder to shoulder.
Right, standing 10 toes down on business.
Yeah, exactly.
This is after, mind you, that Kushana brought the warrior out.
Right.
Now, like I said before, this thing is half-baked.
Yes.
Actively melting.
Yeah.
And this is another one of my favorite little tidbits into the story.
Okay.
She says, what the hell's wrong with you? Are you descended from the world's most evil tribe?
What?
Yes.
I didn't catch that.
Dude,
damn.
It brings to mind that these things are so reviled.
Yeah.
For good reason. I'm so glad that, like, they haven't, like, of course, they're powerful. Everyone knows how powerful they are. They started the fucking 7 days of fire. Whole fucking world caught fire.
Of course. And caused the Sea of Decay, apparently.
Right. And nobody reveres this thing. They're in awe of it.
Yeah.
Just because of what it is.
Yeah.
But they do not look up to it in any way, shape, or form.
Well, it also doesn't help because it's half-baked.
Oh, yeah.
It's also, like, actively, like Dylan said, actively melting and falling apart.
And dude, the sounds this thing makes. Utterly, like, terrifying.
Bad.
Like, almost as if it's in pain.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I fucking would be, yeah.
Right.
But this thing fires off its first shot, and it is on the level, if not larger than a nuke, is what it looks like.
It brings to mind, is it Ramiel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's straight up.
There's this almost silent pink laser beam that just kind of like spreads across the landscape and then just explodes.
Right. Dude,
and
the
it's
delayed explosion.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And when that happens, these like massive ohm bugs
are like flung into the air.
Yeah.
And obliterated.
And it's like,
these things have been untouchable.
Oh, yeah. Like the tanks can't penetrate the armor.
Oh, yeah.
And these things are being flung around like they ain't shit. It's like, oh, okay.
But there's just so damn many.
There's so many of them. They go around the fire.
Right,
There's
you cannot
fire
stop the wave.
Nah, dude.
It's coming whether you like it or not, bro.
Yep.
The fucking planet wants you dead.
Yeah. And then in like a real G move, Nausicaä's standing there with the baby, and then they just get trampled.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh, shit.
Flung to the wayside.
So at that point, I was like, now.
All hope is lost.
All hope is lost. There was hope. Now it's gone.
Yeah.
Now I lost hope. She's flung into the air just like the ohms were from the laser beam. She's flung around and then falls down, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yep.
And there she went.
Yep. So after a couple more scenes of everything being trampled under claw by the rage wave.
Rage wave is good.
We get a nice little bird's eye view shot of the red slowly changing to blue from one point in the stampede.
Yeah. After
which all of them fucking stop.
Oh, and
dead in their tracks.
Just before this, need I mind you, the big guardian, or not guardian, the giant warrior. Sorry, the giant warrior only got off like 2 or 3 laser beams before it completely melted.
Yeah,
and it's not just a skeleton and a stain on the. And then, of course, literally the bugs the ohms are going around.
Yeah, they're just avoiding.
They're just avoiding the carcass of it. It's like, oh shit! But then, as you're saying, then the blue light sparks from the center of the crowd.
We see that the ohms have like slowly turned around and focused on this one point, this one opening they've made.
Yeah,
and it's where Nausicaä, her corpse, for all intents and purposes, landed, and the little baby's walking up to it, and as they're just sitting there, like stunned, shocked with themselves, it feels like they slowly envelop her in the tendrils and start healing her wounds.
There's one in particular that holds her body
raises her
and
up.
Raises her up as if like, this is
Look
what
at
we
what
have
we've
done.
done.
Look at what
Yeah.
we've done. The only human that has ever cared about us.
Right, we have to make it right.
Yes.
And
all of us together.
Right, dude. With their powers combined, they straight
Yes.
up resurrect this bitch.
Right.
And change the color of her dress.
Yes. And dude, this is the part that's crazy. And I love this because this is where it all goes back around to the beginning of the movie. There's this moment where whenever I was talking about the fact that we first get the chance to see Lord Yupa without his cloak on. He's got this cool hairstyle.
Right. He's talking to Nausicaa's father.
Right.
And Jill, Nausicaa's father, is like, don't you think it's about time you settled down?
Yeah.
Like you were just talking about how this valley calms your nerves.
Yeah.
And then Obaba chimes up, is like, he'll never stop traveling. He's doomed to wander forever.
Yeah.
After which Nausicaa asks, like, well, why is that? And she explains this ancient legend or prophecy that's described on a mural on the wall in his room. And it says that a man or a figure in blue robes will descend upon a golden field and unify the earth.
Yeah.
Now, we keep that in mind. Like,
yeah,
just
yeah,
back
yeah.
of our head type
right.
stuff, just some old legend.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you know it?
And again, and this is the part that is so powerful because Obaba is blind. She specifically says, I think she says something along the lines of like, please, young one, describe to me what you're seeing so that way I may understand this moment or I may feel the moment you're feeling right now.
Because she's able to gather that the Ohms have stopped and that they're, like she says, such sympathy and friendship.
Yeah.
And then at that point, she asks the girls to relay what's happening.
Right. And then Nausicaä they're saying that Nausicaä is now clothed in blue robes and is now, it looks like she's walking across a field of gold or whatever. Right. And that's Obama like
opens her eyes and it's
yeah,
oh my fucking God.
She's like opening her eyes, but you could tell she's still blind, but it's just the realization and she's crying and she's like, oh my God, it's
true.
It's true. And it's like, and then it's she doesn't say it, but it's the vibe of like, it has the prophecy foretold.
Right.
Is what it is. It's type that type shit where it's like, oh my God.
Dude.
It's like, hell yeah, dude. And then of course that's the second she has that realization and you can see she's crying and it's like, oh shit, that's what she was talking about at the beginning.
Fucking real.
And that's what I'm talking about. Is like, there's so many little storytelling things that I think this whole movie is such a great story. It's so fun.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. And then I
one
love
of my favorites.
At that point is when we get like the kind of conclusion part, all the credits start rolling and then we start seeing like the
resolution to the conflict.
Right. Where are they now? Just for briefly after that conflict.
Right.
Where
one of my favorite bits is whenever Obaba is like right up in front of Yupa, like has him by the hands.
Yes.
And you don't know what she's saying, but I'd like to think that she's saying you don't have to. You can you can finally stop. You're not a wanderer anymore.
You found it. We've got it. We're at peace with the land now.
Right.
Anyways, it was really cool. I really enjoyed this movie, and again, it's been a long time. I've only watched it once with you, so this being our second viewing of it.
One of the greats.
It's a great one, and to now know that it's the first Ghibli film, it really does hit a little different because that's what a great way to start a legacy of great films. So we've gone on pretty long on this episode because I wanted to give this movie justice.
Oh, of course.
It deserves it, but I also wanted to tell you guys of the crazy buffoonery that has been going on throughout this past week with the weather. It's been a lot of fun. It's been crazy and chaotic, and I hope all you guys are doing well. I hope that whatever part of the country or part of the world you're in, it's less chaotic than it is around here. Because again, like I said,
I hope the weather's more stable where you're at.
Who knows? I hope you guys are all well. I appreciate you all listening. Please subscribe where you can. Stay in tune with the podcast. Leave us comments. Let us know what you think. If you want to give us any suggestions as well, we got a couple on the list. There's a couple of wacky movies. We're going to wait for Ethan to come around, but we're going to be on our list. I do kind of want to watch, what is that? Violet Evergarden. Is that what it's
Oh,
called?
fuck.
I do.
Yeah.
I know it's gonna be sad, or I've been told it's gonna be a
It's
heart
so
wrencher.
fucking good.
I want to watch it, so maybe in the future when we have a little more heads up and a little more planning, on my part at least, we'll watch that at some point.
Okay.
But anyways, like I said before, thank you so much for listening, and until next week,
See ya.
bye bye.